Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and I was always told I had a voice of radio, so today I am back from my honeymoon, and I am showing you another awesome new Pokemon GX card. It is Tsareena GX. Now, it is a grass Pokemon, of course, so the first thing we're going to say, nice and simply, is that it can use Forest of Giant Plants and evolve up, so even though it's a stage 2, it can evolve up straight away. And let's not forget that we've already got a Tsareena that's actually pretty gosh darn good. In Sun and Moon, we got the Queenly Majesty Tsareena, which allows you to, when you evolve into Tsareena, you get to look at your opponent's hand and discard a card from it. And remember the ruling. These GX cards have different names, so you could play up to 4 Tsareena and up to 4 Tsareena GX as well. So you could combo nicely, and don't forget devolution spray. So you could evolve into the non-GX Tsareena, make your opponent discard a card, then you can devolution spray, and as long as you've got Forest of Giant Plants in play, you can then re-evolve into the GX. Now, grass is an alright type. I suppose you are hitting weakness against things like Lycanroc, but there's not much you're hitting. I suppose Zygarde as well. Oh yeah, and you're hitting grass weakness against Lapras, which, given how good Lapras has been lately, is probably something worth mentioning. And in terms of the weakness to fire, that's a bit of a problem, because Volcanion is very, very big right now. The biggest problem being a grass deck, however, is that we've got good grass decks. Decidueye Vileplume, for one. So if you're going to be playing a grass Pokemon at the moment, it better be pretty gosh darn good. So let's have a look at the attack, see what we can find. 1 grass energy, switch your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. The new active Pokemon is now confused. So it's kind of like a Lysander with confusion. It's not amazing. Your opponent can switch out of it. Your opponent can just retreat. In the old rules, I don't know if anyone remembers this, but in the old rules, I'm sure some of you do, obviously, you used to have to flip a coin if you wanted to retreat when you were confused. If we still had those rules, this would be an awesome attack, but we don't, so it's not. It's just for a single grass energy. It's a bit of disruption. It could be fun, but it's not amazing. The second attack for a grass and a double colorless energy, which I like because you use the first attack for a grass, and then you just attach your double colorless to use this one. 90 damage, but if they're confused, 180. So here's the deal. Grass double colorless for 90 damage? No. No. I don't like it. It's not good. Grass double colorless for 180, however, I love. That's one-hit KOing most stuff. Anytime you build in stuff like Choice Band to do 30 more to EXs or GXs, and Professor Kukui, you're one-hit KOing pretty much everything. So this could be really, really good. The question just becomes, how easy is it for me to confuse my opponent? Well, not very. We don't have many great confusers. Now, don't get me wrong, we've got Tsareena's first attack, which does automatic confusion, but if your opponent can just get out of the active spot, or evolve, then all of a sudden, you're not doing very much because they're not confused anymore. It's not really particularly reliable. Now we have got Espeon GX, who for a single energy does 30 damage plus confusion, but then we're into the same thing whereby you're giving your opponent a turn to get rid of confusion. You're not in control anymore. Your opponent is now in control of whether they are confused or not. Now, in Expanded, we have got the Next Destiny's Amoonguss that's got the ability that when you evolve, your opponent's active is now confused and poisoned, which would be brilliant with Tsareena. And maybe in Expanded, because Amoonguss is a grass deck, so you can use Forest of Giant Plants, maybe in Expanded, Amoonguss is the play. Because you use Amoonguss Tsareena and then one-hit KO anything. It could be a good Expanded deck. But in Standard, we don't have a reliable way of confusing our opponent's active. Which means that we're generally going to be doing 90 for free energy, which means it's a bad attack. Is Amoonguss Tsareena going to be viable in Expanded? I mean, there's lots of item lock in Expanded with things like Seismitoad, although you're hitting him for weakness, and Trevenant, but maybe it could be a fun deck in Expanded? Could be. Now, the GX attack I do like, and I like a lot. Queen Command GX, 2 grass and a colorless. What I don't like here is that it's now a different attack cost. So let's say you use the first attack for a grass energy. You then attach a double colorless to use a second attack. Well, you still can't use the GX attack because you don't have the requisite energy. That's a big problem as far as I'm concerned. But it's like a better Delinquent. Your opponent discards 4 cards from their hand. Now remember, GX attacks are 1 per game of any description, so if you use Tsareena GX's GX attack, not only can you not use that again, but you can't use any GX attack from any Pokemon. Okay, this is very nice. Now the way it is translated at the moment is your opponent gets to choose which cards they discard, alright? But, come on, that's still awesome. You get your opponent to discard 4 cards from their hand. We've seen how good Delinquent is. We've seen how many times your opponent discarding 3 cards from their hand basically loses them the game because they're now top decking and they've got nothing to do. Now you get them to discard 4 cards from their hand. I mean, if they've got 4 or fewer cards in hand, they just discard their entire hand and then they're in top deck mode. They draw a card per turn and hope it's good. But even that aside, and you can do this when you're playing a game. Next time you're playing a game of Pokemon, have a look at your hand randomly throughout the game and ask yourself, on how many turns can you just discard 4 cards from your hand without ruining your entire game? I don't think many. I love this GX attack. Do I love the card as a whole? Not really, I'm afraid. If we had a reliable way of confusing, I would like it an awful lot more. But as it stands at the moment, the first attack's a bit meh. The second attack is really good if they're confused, but it's hard to confuse them. The GX attack is amazing, but grass, colorless as a cost, that's harsh, ladies and gentlemen. It's very, very harsh. And then you've got to remember that if you're playing a Stage 2 grass Pokemon, you could just be playing Decidueye. I'm sorry, I'm going to give Tsareena GX 3 Wassies. And that might be a little bit generous, to be honest. But the GX attack is a game-wrecking attack. This isn't a 1 KO attack. This is a my opponent now can't win attack. And if they are confused, Grass Double Colorless for 180 is very good. This is a card I'm giving 3 Wassies for the potential, because at the moment it's not great. But in the future, if we ever get a reliable way of confusing your opponent's Pokemon, this could be a very, very good card indeed. Now you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen, there is a comment section. Go nuts, be nice. Don't forget that you can like this video, and you should. You can subscribe to this channel, and you should. You can follow me on Twitter @TheWassie, and you should. The most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.